Hello, I'm Chris Bishop and a very warm welcome to the Entrepreneurial Edge. Now, experiential marketing. You've probably never heard of it. I must admit I hadn't, but it has made a fortune for this week's guest. It is marketing on the ground, in a nutshell, getting the taste for products, and it's highly competitive business. And we've got a bit of a David and Goliath story here, in fact. Now, this is the business of Mike Silver, one of the South Africa's leading experiential marketers. He cut his teeth on events and festivals while at university, learned the trade in Europe, and started his own company, Stretch, based in Cape Town in 2009, and he's here with us now. So Mike, he's obviously out there in the business, and we've said talk a little bit more about David and Goliath as the program goes on, but just tell us a bit about yourself, your background. I mean, sort of family, entrepreneurs, I assume?
Yeah, we grew up around the dinner table. My dad was in recruitment, and we grew up, he would fly across the country, all over the world, conferences, and we were always inspired. And I think that it was, no one made it the obligation, but I think there was a very clear target for us to aim at. And I think working for someone else, unfortunately, was for at least for my brother and I, was never really an option. And my first business I can remember was, I was about 15 and I was at high school, and the local tuck shop lady was selling awful hot chips, really bad. They were either too crispy or raw, and we took her on and we hired a pie oven and we got this pie oven in, and we were selling pies, and we got into a huge group of trouble, and eventually we were backed by my business economics teacher, and she backed us all the way.
Obviously didn't like the chips either, yeah?
No, she didn't. Yeah, she was pretty happy for a meat pie. So yeah, that was I guess the first David and Goliath moment we had, and it went on from there. Another funny story about a business. I sold economic study guides as a workshop. I did a workshop and sold study guides at UCT, and I ended up failing the course that I sold the study guides for. So we made a lot of money and had a great holiday in Amsterdam, but yeah, I didn't do very well.
Oh dear, in an economics course, that's, as they say, one of God's little jokes. But
exactly.
Anyway, but you did go to, actually when you were at university in Cape Town, I presume, UCT, you started to cut your teeth in the sort of world as well, in the fact you were into festivals and events. What sort of stuff were you doing then?
Well, the first thing I went, and when I was matric, I went to we go to Plettenberg Bay, and you obviously go there and drink appetizer and do nothing the parents would be ashamed of. But I was walking around, and I got in with one of the guys, the festival guys selling tickets, and I said, I'll help you sell tickets. And at the same time, I was dyeing my hair blue, so I was walking around with tin foil on my head to keep the blue dye in, and selling tickets for this festival. And I wasn't doing it to make money; I was doing it to meet the fairer sex, and they quite liked the tin foil, they quite liked the tickets, and And
what was the concert, by the way? Is that of interest?
It was, they were just Cape Town DJs that had come down. There was an energy drink involved. I can't even remember, to be honest. It was a foam party. But I just loved, I really enjoyed interacting with people. I really enjoyed being an entertainer, so to speak, in that sense. And from there, I got my first job I thought, how difficult can this be? Book a venue, book a DJ, get my friend to design a bit of a cheesy flyer, and we went from there. And then that sort of got me into festivals and events, and something got sparked inside of me.
And you did a lot of concerts and things after that, or?
Yeah, I mean, when I was 19, we were doing events for about 3,000 people, student events, concerts. I would go back to this town in Plettenberg Bay and be part of this, what they call the Rage Festival. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, it was never really at the time about the money, it was about the passion. My friends loved it because they all got given these staff passes, and they again helped with the fairer sex. So yeah, but I enjoyed it, and dealing with brand managers at the beginning was really when I thought, hold on, maybe there's something here.
And then you finally passed your exams at college. What did you get in the end?
I dropped out of BCom. Economics obviously wasn't my forte, and I did a degree in politics, and then I went on to do an honours degree in brand communication at Vega, which is a brand specialist school.
Okay.
And I don't know how it happened there, but I was there, and I read, I think I was doing research for my thesis, and I came across this book called Experience the Message, and it was all about brand experiences, crazy case studies from Canada and stuff, and I thought, this is what I want to do. This is, I was getting a bit self-conscious, getting a bit old. You know, the matriculants were staying 18 and I was getting older, and I thought, hold on, it's a little bit dodgy me being here. So I thought I'd move on to something a little bit more intellectual.
So then you spread your wings, you flew to Europe, London, worked over there. What sort of work did you get well, what was it like when you landed? I mean, somebody on an interview recently said he was in London the days when you needed a South African passport to get into Putney and Fulham, you know, because...
Exactly.
So that was you, was it?
That was me. I mean, I remember one of my greatest fears was, how do I work a washing machine when that plane was taking off? Because I'd never done that myself. But I got there, and aside from doing my own washing, when you go to London, even then I had a British passport. My father is British, and it was really difficult, very, very difficult to get. They didn't, unless you had London experience, you weren't really regarded as a suitable candidate. And I got my way into an interview with the sponsorship agency and working at sponsorship consultancy. There was obviously the link with the festivals I'd done in South Africa. And that was really interesting, how the strategic approach to sponsorship. And I came back to South Africa briefly. It was an ex-girlfriend of mine. And then went back to London. And then that was when I really got into experiential marketing. I landed a great job. I had the UK experience, and that was when we went.
But it was rough, tough world over there.
Very tough. It's tough to get by. I mean, salaries are not great. You kind of live. You never make quite enough to have a good time, but you're never making too little that you can't eat. So it's sort of somewhere in between there. But the cultures were amazing, and the brands I got to work on. You know, I'd fly to Berlin for a weekend to do a Smirnoff event. It was amazing.
And surely you saw things happening there that perhaps you'll never see again, and you never saw before. You know, in terms of ruthless, tough business.
Very much so. I mean, I remember our new business development managers. They take it very seriously. They have what's called lead generation agencies, and they're phoning up all the time and saying, "Hi, we'd like to get so and so in front of you." I mean, that was for marketing and advertising. Here, it's a lot more relaxed. It's relationship building. So, and the day that our new business manager landed a job somewhere else, he was immediately left the building, gardening leave gone, because of the contacts he might take with him. So, very cutthroat, yeah.
And after a few years of that, you decided to return back to Africa and Cape Town again. You could have come back and got a reasonably comfortable job with a large agency, I'm sure. But I mean, you decided not to. Why was that?
I think having been involved in my own businesses in university, and obviously having seen what my father had done and the success that he had done, I think that I was, inside of me, I guess there was always something that I never really felt like I was fulfilling my potential. The truth is I was also a terrible account manager. And the guys will probably over London, if they ever see this, they'll have a laugh about it, because I was never good. I was good with relationships and a bit of creative. My real passion was around understanding business, working with people, how do they grow. And when I came back here, I think I always had the thought that over there I would learn and try to find something that I can bring back here. And just a little quick story, I was at the cricket with my dad, and I was back on holiday, and I go to the cricket, and they're giving out these hats for a certain beer brand, and it's basically a beer tray with a hole in the middle, and that's your hat. And my dad turns to me and says to me, "So is this experiential marketing?" And I thought, this is the moment. I thought, this is when there's an opportunity here to come back. If this is the standard of some of the creative here, I think we can definitely push the boundaries.
So the name Stretch, that was your company. How did you come up with that?
I was thinking of ideas. What we do is not just about the sort of one-on-one brand experience, but also about how does social media amplify, how does PR amplify this creative thought, creative idea, and essentially it stretches the idea, it stretches the budget. I was thinking of words elastic and amplify, and then this word came along. As you can see, I'm not the most serious guy by nature, so it seemed quite fun. And what's the funny thing is with the name is that the amount of times clients use it in meetings. We really need to stretch this idea, we need to stretch the budget, and then you catch them laughing at themselves. So they develop a bit of an emotional bond with the name. It's quite funny, really.
Yeah, because it has to be something that's catchy, it has to be something that says what it is. I mean, how did you come up with it? I mean, some of the companies that I've interviewed on this show, they say that, well, they took an agency to come up with like 15 different examples and things. How did you do it?
The business was born in my bedroom at a very small flat, And I used to wake up every morning, put on this grey dressing gown, it still sits there, and then I think, right, what do I do now? Twiddling my thumbs. I've got this vision, I've got this idea, and I guess I just started playing with names and sitting there, and a lot of great stuff happened in that dressing gown. And you know, stalking clients on LinkedIn and seeing who I could connect with, and it's funny that where we're at today, I guess it might sound a little bit arrogant, but the vision was quite straightforward in the beginning there, and I kind of always saw myself getting out of the dressing gown, but not this quickly. So yeah, it was quite an interesting time.
From then on, you registered a company. You started to work. How much was your first job that you secured? Your first contract that you signed?
My first job was consulting to a bit of a failed venture during the 2010 World Cup. Someone was trying to start a business there to do with stadiums for fan parks and stuff. And it was, I was asking for about 6,000 Rand. He got me down to 2,000 Rand, and I was very happy with that. So yeah, that was a couple of burgers. Yeah, that was the first job, but very cool, nice guy.
In those days, I mean, you were obviously trying to keep your overheads down, your costs down.
Yes.
I mean, what sort of things you had to do in the early days when you were starting out?
One of the interesting things we did, and it's actually something that now is at the core of our business, is I don't know how it happened, but I got approached by a company in Amsterdam bringing Dutch students to South Africa. They love Cape Town, they love the weather, and they were looking for placements in marketing companies. And I think he must have just Googled and found us, and we started placing interns in our company, and essentially they're not allowed to get paid because it's obviously they don't have work permits, so we used to get them lunch and give them concert tickets and things like that. But they were very hungry, very eager, and had seen great ideas in Europe. And they were the lifeblood of the agency in the beginning. There were no overheads for them. And since then, we've made interns a very integral part of what we do now, building towards a graduate scheme. The passion that a new starter has is something that someone who's been around for a while, they don't always have that sort of passion.
So, in terms of scale, I mean, you started off with you in your bedroom with your dressing gown on. What sort of scale are you now since 2009, since you've been operating?
Well, it's quite exciting. This week we've just opened up our Johannesburg division. We currently have staff dotted around the country, everywhere from Free State to Cape Town, Joburg, and we've got some sort of satellite offices there. We've got about 30 staff, full-time staff. And then over sort of peak summer season, you can be employing up to 150 part-timers at any given time. And yeah, we were, I guess the brands that we work with were really helpful to make us an attractive offering to staff.